Okay. Wait, are we live? Oh, we are live.
Are we live?
Welcome to our Harry Potter and the Cursed Child live show. This is for the Long Genres Book Club, which is Anais from Clockwork Kitten and Anais Book Club, and we, the last 2 months, have been reading Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. So we have two special guests with us. So before we go into discussing the book, I think we'll just all introduce ourselves. So I don't know who wants to go first.
Should I say hi first? Right. I'm Anais from Clockwork Kitten, the other co-host, and we have two guests. So, Riley, do you want to go, or Ren? I don't mind.
I'm Riley from Riley Marie. That's my channel.
I'm Ren from Men on the Road. I talk about books and stuff.
So yeah. First of all, I thought before we go into like spoilers, do we want to give just like a couple of lines each on our verdict and like a star rating out of 5, because I think we all have quite varying ratings. So, who wants to go first?
I can go first. I would rate this a solid 0 to 1 star. 0 can be solid. I really did not like it, and that is all I'll say right now.
Right. Shall I go next?
Sure.
Right. I'm slightly more optimistic. I think it has a lot of good things. I'm gonna give it like a 3-star rating. So, yeah.
That's what I'd give it.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of problematic stuff and a lot of stuff that doesn't work. But on the other hand, I think that some of the more Harry Potter vibes you get from it that remind you of the old series kind of brings it up for me. And also the whole experience. So that is me.
Mine's exactly the same, and my opinion of it went up after I'd seen it. Like, I read it and I was like, how is this gonna work? This doesn't make sense. And I was really angry, and then seeing it like unfold helped me enjoy it, but there's still so much that doesn't work or make much sense. So I'd give it 3 stars, I think.
Oh yeah, Ren is the only one of us who has actually seen the play. I'm seeing it late 2017 because that's all the tickets that were left, but we have some. Yeah, okay. Riley, you'll go.
No, I gave it 1 star, but that's being generous. I really was not a fan. Not a fan.
Right. I think that's all we can say. I feel like most people tuning in will have actually read it. So, if you haven't, I mean, I don't think there's anything we can say without spoiling it, because it's, I mean, to a certain extent, go into it without knowing anything. But yeah, let's go into the spoilers now and like go into the deep end and talk about the plot, because I feel like that is where a lot of the problems start. So the first thing I've got on the plot is time travel, which I feel is where it all starts to go a bit wrong for some people. So yeah, who wants to start on time travel?
Riley, I feel like you have some good thoughts about the time travel.
I thought it was ridiculous. My problem with the time travel was that in like the original series, they had come up with rules for the time travel, and then this book really just kind of like had no rules with time travel and went back on a lot of the things that they'd already established, so it just really didn't make sense.
Yeah, it was like they thought, okay, we'll just forget everything that's been established like throughout this entire series of books. We'll just ignore that for a second and we'll just do everything. And yeah, it didn't work. Like, it just didn't make sense. There was a lot of flaws in that part.
Yeah, there was literally the part at the end when, don't mind me, by the end of it I was reading, but it was like really hard for me to take in all the details because I was so mad at this book. But like at the end when they're like in Godric's Hollow, and then like Ginny, Harry, Hermione, and like everyone shows up at once, and Albus is literally like, how'd you guys get here? And Harry's like, don't worry about it. I was like, the details, so foggy.
Okay, so I think they chose time travel for a reason, and I think the reason that they did, even if it's maybe perhaps not the most intelligent reason, I feel like they wanted to go back to a lot of the characters, like for example the whole dark timeline thing. It was like they wanted to see the different possibilities, which is why to a certain extent, I felt some of it was quite cool, like the whole Snape thing and seeing him again, which we'll get onto later. But for the most part, I actually made a whole video about why the time travel doesn't work, and it is really frustrating because so like time travel all started in Prisoner of Azkaban, and then I went into this in my whole video, but JK Rowling, after writing Prisoner of Azkaban, said on Pottermore it was a mistake, which is why all the time travels were destroyed in the Ministry of Magic, except now they weren't, which is like interesting decision on Jack Thorne's part.
Yeah, it's weird that like Draco had one, that like he kept one. Like, what was the? Well, Lucius kept one, but then Draco knew about it, and you think, why? What was the like motive of that? What were they gonna do? And I know Draco says it's because he didn't tell anyone because he knew that everyone would just assume that Scorpius was Voldemort's son. You're like, what were they planning on doing with that? Like, where is Lucius in this book? Is he in Azkaban? Is it ever explained? Is he alive? Like, where did Draco get that time turner from? He just shows up with this all-powerful time turner. He's like, look what I've got. Like, how? Where did that come from?
The thing was, Draco first said, he's like, well, my dad kept it just for show, but he'd never use it. It was gold. It was shiny. Well, that's what Malfoy's like. I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
I've watched, in preparation for this, a few people like defending it, and the main argument for the time travel thing seems to be that it's a different time turner, which honestly I think is all rubbish because it is the same universe, laws of magic and time travel can't change, and yeah, that is my opinion on the matter.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the time travel stuff, it was just like everything was so convenient, and they just like kept changing the rules to fit what they needed.
Mm-hmm. It's just very surprising to me that Jo would be in on this and like write her name on the cover, and since she's the one who knows the laws of magic best, it just confuses me a little. So if anyone has any input in the comments and wants to defend the time travel thing, go ahead, but I feel like you've got a panel of 4 people who are not very easily.
Which that's what ruins it, is because the whole plot is about time travel. So it's like we can't even really enjoy the characters because like they're doing stuff that you're like, this is so dumb. This doesn't make any sense.
And it seems like they were so desperate to go to time travel that they brought back Cedric Diggory. Like that was the driving aspect, which still confuses me. Any comments on Cedric's return?
Okay, first of all, I was like, they're fixating on that one line when Voldemort said kill the spare. He didn't mean anything by that. He just meant like the extra guy was here. Could you kill him? And then they like really focused on that like verbiage. They were like, kill the spare. He was a spare. It was unfair. He needs to live. And I was just like, what? That was just like a casual line that Voldemort said. That's not like something very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not buy Cedric becoming a Death Eater. Like, in what world would that ever happen?
Yeah.
Definitely not.
I feel like the reason they actually did that, though, I feel like that's just the playwrights trying to be like, hey, look, Hufflepuffs can go bad too. Yeah.
I was having this conversation with someone today, and we were saying it sounded like it was just like everything that, like every stereotype, everything that came out of the original series, it was like they thought, what can we do to fix this? Slytherins aren't evil, so let's make another house bad. Like, we didn't make this pairing canon, so let's make this pairing canon and make up for that. And it just felt like everything they thought came out of the original series, they were like, let's try and change, but then they didn't change it right, so it didn't work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the last big plot point, which was interesting, was Delphi and Voldemort. The whole Voldemort had sex and produced this child. Thoughts?
This is the thing I probably had the biggest issue with, because the timeline, I just don't understand how it works. Like, it was supposed to be after Half-Blood Prince, but before the Battle of Hogwarts, so where did that baby come from? When Hermione polyjuiced into Bellatrix, would she have been pregnant? Like,
oh yeah.
how did that work? Where did the baby go? Did Bellatrix know? Like, did Voldemort know? Like, her husband knew, so something must have happened there, and you just think, at which point did that get fit in there? Because that doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that plotline. I mean, I saw it, like, as I was reading, I eventually guessed that was what was going to happen. When she showed up to the Owlery and she was, like, being shady, I was like, oh, wait, she's Voldemort. Okay, I get it. But, like, it felt really forced. Like, oh, what if Voldemort had a love child? We'll write that in. That sounds like a good idea. Like, I was just like, this feels really random. And I almost felt like a lot of the plot was already resolved, but then all of a sudden they were like, oh, but let's just have this Delphine thing happen, because that'll, like, I don't know, the last act to me felt really useless. I felt like they had been resolving a lot of stuff, like when they switched the reality back from, like, all hail Voldemort back to, like, normal. I was like, oh, we're done. And then I was like, oh, wait, I have to read another act.
I'm just curious, like, scientifically, how could Voldemort, who is like 70 years old and also barely human at this point, how could he make a child?
It's true. Also, I'm like, I always pictured Voldemort as being one of those people who is not, like, sex does not interest him because he's only interested in power. I mean, again, like, obviously, you know, Harry Potter is somewhat a children's series, so they don't really talk about sex a lot. So it just was weird how they'd fit that in, because I never pictured him being someone. I mean, he could have been, but I pictured him being more asexual and, like, more concerned about power than being, like, having sexual desires. I don't know.
And it's like, in which context was it? Like, was it an affair? Because the whole point of him is that he doesn't understand love. He doesn't have these emotions that people have because of what he's done to himself and the fact that he isn't human-like. So was it an affair, or was it just a ploy to have an heir and to want someone to continue what he was doing? That if he did that, he would have thought that he was going to lose, and he didn't entertain that idea. To him, he was going to kill Harry and win. So where did she come from? In which context was Delphi created? I didn't understand either. I didn't understand why she existed.
Yeah. So that's it on Delphi, I think. We'll come back to her later, because it was all very confusing. And another thing that kind of actually really upset me was I was really excited for Cursed Child, because I wanted to see a new generation of wizards actually at Hogwarts, like having the lessons, seeing the new teachers. But then they do these things where they would be like, and now it's a year later, and they would skip through all the Platform 9 3/4 scenes, and it was so upsetting, because I could have done up a whole book of, like, Philosopher's Stone style, Albus and Scorpius at their first year, and that would have been great. But then it just seemed like a wasted opportunity. I don't know if anyone else felt, like, quite upset by this.
I totally felt upset about that. It just, like, it skipped all the parts that I wanted to see and went to just, like, random stuff. I think Albus and Scorpius' friendship was, like, friendship was my favorite part, and I, like, wanted to see them just, like, being at Hogwarts and being kids.
Yeah, I wish. Yeah, I wish.
Sorry. No, keep going.
No, you go. I was just gonna say, I wish we had that. It would have been nice to have.
Yeah, I was gonna say something. I was gonna say, like, any scene we got that was, like, in a classroom was always, like, 2 pages, and, like, I feel like they spent more time in random places or, like, in the Ministry of Magic and stuff, and I just was like, I wanted to see Hogwarts. And not Hogwarts, like, I mean, they would time travel at Hogwarts, but still, it wasn't what I think we were all wanting or looking for. And I managed to read it without, like, being spoiled. I mean, I had heard, like, one person say time travel, but I didn't really, like, read into it or look up spoilers. So as I was reading, I was like, oh, this is the plot? Oh, this is what we've decided. Okay, all right.
I'm actually quite curious to see how they would have done that on stage. They're, like, skipping through the years. Don't tell us, because October 2017, but I feel like that'd be quite cool. Was it
clever? The whole not spoilery, like, but the whole thing about that play is it's just really clever because they're limited with space and they're limited with resources because they have to do it then and there. So what they do with what they've got is absolutely amazing. Like, it's really, really, really clever how they, like, do the apology thing, how they do the time things, like how they do the Dementors and all of that stuff. Like, it's really just clever, and I think that adds a lot to it. So if you see it happen, I think you sort of get more invested into like the wizarding world again because you're watching it, and I think it helped me to be able to see it so soon and feel like, okay, that redeemed it a little bit. Like, that was actually really good to watch rather than just reading it, because I was quite like, oh, once I finished the book, it was quite disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've kind of got like inconsistencies underlined. I feel like that was my main big issue. It was very inconsistent with the original 7. In more than one aspect. For one, they seem to just have like an endless reserve of Polyjuice Potion. They'd be like, here's another bottle of Polyjuice I found. And then in Godric's Hollow, when they transform into... Who transforms into who? I can't even remember anymore.
Turns into Voldemort.
Yeah, first of all, where do they get... How do they get, like, don't you need hair for Polyjuice Potion? Anyway. First
of all,
still very confusing.
Bald. So I was like, where'd you get the hair? And I like how they're like, what's that the neighbor's name? They're like, what's her face has Polyjuice Potion in the basement. I was like, how do you know that, Albus? Like, have you been in her basement? Like, why do you know that?
Was there the bag shot?
Yeah. He was like, I think she's got Polyjuice Potion in her basement. And I was like, what?
Yeah. Another big thing with inconsistencies was characters' personalities. Now, what do you think about this? Like, with each character, I feel like we can go into it later as well, but with each character, there's a thing of certain people think it's very consistent to the whole storyline. Other people think it's like a completely different person. Does anyone want to say anything?
I liked Draco because it felt like what Draco should have been and could have been if he wasn't in the situation that he was in. And he really, he seemed really resigned to the fact that this is his character and this is what is happening, but what he's going to do now to make it better and to, move on with his life now all of that is over with. And I thought that he was quite good because he still had those elements of Draco that sort of were good elements of him that you could still tell was his character, but I felt he actually was quite, he redeemed himself in a really good way. I feel like that character development was good. He felt good. There were a couple of things from some of the others that I just felt were a bit off, but I wasn't too upset about what they'd done with them because they're older, so they are going to be different. But a couple of things with Harry and stuff, I just thought, I don't know if you would really do that or if you'd say that. I just, the whole, I wish you would do something. I think no matter how angry he was, I don't know if that's something he would say. I know he gets angry and he has a temper, but I was just thinking, really, he knows what it's like. So,
someone just corrected us in the comments. Sorry, it was they transfigured into Voldemort,
right?
Not Polyjuice Potion.
Okay.
I'm still not sure how that works because I never knew you could transfigure people. But
I don't think Jack Thorne knew either. He was just making stuff up. Let's be real.
Yeah, because if you could transfigure into people, what's the point of Polyjuice Potion?
Very true. Also, Sarah, I just kind of suddenly remembered that we were meant to announce the My Book Box winners.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Okay, well, how about we just wait till the end? We'll go ahead and just wait till the live show to that. So anybody who is watching and you entered the giveaway, we will wait till the end. And if you're not watching this live, don't worry, we're still going to email the winners and stuff. And My Book Box will contact you with all the information. So just so you all know that. We kind of forgot Walmart. But back to the character thing. Riley and I were talking about this earlier, so I'm sure she has things to say as well. Ron has always been my favorite character. He was my first book boyfriend. I felt pretty passionately about it. I think they confused him with Fred and George. I don't know. He wasn't, Ron has always been, goofy and kind of dumb or whatever, but he's not, dad jokes, I'm going to give you a love potion and dye your hair pink. I was like, I think they've confused him with Fred and George. It just didn't feel like Ron. And then even in the alternate reality, when he was married to Padma, he was a nerd.
Oh yeah, that whole thing with Padma. Oh no. Oh god, I hated seeing that so much. Anyway, carry on, sorry.
They just made him into like a loser, and I was like, Ron's not like the coolest guy, but he's not a loser. So I was just very confused.
Yeah, they made Ron into a joke, and it was like they were like, we need someone to be funny, so let's just make Ron be dorky and funny and nothing like he was before. But I think the character that I thought was the most different from the original series was Harry. I just did not understand his choices of being like a dad. The things that he did, I was just like, you would never do that. Especially when in one of the alternate timelines, he told Albus that he couldn't be friends with
Oh, that was so horrible.
Like, awful. He would never do that. And then there was even one point where he was talking to Albus or somebody, I can't remember, and he was saying that he never had fatherly figures in his life, so that's why he doesn't really know how to be a parent. And I was just like, excuse me, I can name a bunch of father figures that you had. So
I saw one person argue. Actually, I've seen there's actually a few people say this, that the reason he's like, you know, the line where he's like, I wish you weren't my son, something like that, to Scorpius, which is heartbreaking. I had to put the book down for a sec. Some people have said that it is like a sign of his trauma of growing up, because it's true we never actually see in the 7 books much of his, I don't know what you would call it, but like the trauma he has after leaving the Dursleys and like growing up in that environment. That's what some people have said is the reasoning for his sudden change in behavior, but I just don't see Harry, like the Harry I know, ever saying that to his son when he's grown up in such like a hostile environment himself. That was just so heartbreaking.
Yeah, and I know Harry can be angsty. Like, obviously, like the 5th book is like super angsty Harry, but like they just, and I understand after everything that would have happened to him, he would have a lot of baggage and trauma to work through. But like I feel like even through the 6th and 7th book, you see Harry like learning how to deal with it and stuff. So I don't know. I just feel like they made this Harry like a really like, I don't know, like he was just so angsty and so like serious and like not what I remember Harry to be. Because Harry is serious. Like 5th book Harry is a lot. But like after that, I feel like Harry learned to be like take the good with the bad, and I don't know. And also all those scenes of him talking to Dumbledore's portrait were so cheesy and weird. When he was like, "You never loved me," and I'm like, "It's a painting. Like you need to stop."
This is like the same Harry that fought against like Remus and like properly was willing to like fight him about leaving his child. Like that's the Harry that I remember. Like he like throws him against the wall, doesn't he? And they get into like a bit of a argument, and he's saying to him like you wouldn't leave, and makes him tells him to go back to Tonks. And then to go from that Harry and this Harry that knows like what is right and what you should be and like family, to reading him say these things to Albus, I was thinking you wouldn't do that. Like I just didn't think that was very true to what he would have done. I would have liked to have thought he'd have like really sort of changed and learned how to do that. Like you said, in 6 and 7, he definitely does. He does get sort of better, and yeah, it was weird to see that. Not, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like Hermione, like, sorry.
I was just gonna say it's like character development, but like gone the wrong way. Oh, I would just have loved him to like be a proper dad, like a Mr. Weasley, like that kind of love for his child. But then he was so mean, and like he was a bit redeemed towards the end, like slightly, but it was still pretty harsh. I don't know, upsetting.
I don't know, they kind of made, I don't know, I was about to say that Hermione was the only character that, to me, that felt like she was Hermione. Like, it makes sense to me that she'd be Minister of Magic and she would talk the way she did. Like, she seemed normal to me. But it almost felt like none of them knew how to be parents. Like, they were all saying the wrong things. I just feel like they were all like, Ron was like, I don't know either. Like, it's just like, are you all really that incompetent? Like, you don't know how to talk to your children?
Yeah.
Hermione's character, actually, though, because now, like, the last of the trio, there were several things that did annoy me about her, like, quite a lot. Like, for example, can we just say, Hermione is so intelligent. She would never leave the Time Turners in this, like, stupid booby-trap office. That, it would never happen. Like, that was such a dumb move that, like, how old are they? Like, 14. Like, a 14-year-old teenage boy can get it. It was ridiculous. Hermione, I quite liked her in the dark timeline, though. I think it was the dark one where she's, like, a bit jealous of Ron's relationship, because that, it was sweet, because it was, like, Hermione, like, I don't know. I liked that. One of the things I did like. I don't know.
I can't picture her ever becoming a mean person, though. That was one thing that I was like, would that really happen with Hermione?
Oh, yeah.
Like, they were making her almost like a Snape-like professor who was just, like, really mean. And I was like, I just don't think she'd become fair because the guy she liked when she was a teenager married someone else. Like, I just feel like she's more noble than that. But I did like those, like, feels when, like, he came and he was like, your hair looks nice. And she was like, what? And I was like, but outside of that, I felt like, no. I did like her, though, in the timeline when Snape was still alive, and she was, like, the most wanted,
Yeah, that's the timeline I meant. That's the dark one, isn't it?
I thought you meant, okay, sorry. I thought you meant the one where she's the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher.
Oh, no, she's horrible in that one. She's, like, nasty to her, yeah.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have anything else to say about the trio? Because then we'll go on to Albus and Scorpius.
I did like how in all the timelines, Ron and Hermione, like, still had feelings for each other. Even if they weren't together, they were, like, they still liked each other. So I liked that.
Yeah.
I did like that a lot because J.K. Rowling said one time that she would, if she wrote the books again, she wouldn't have them together. And I was like, hold up, that's my first ship ever, and I would appreciate it if you did not scorn it.
Emma Watson said the same thing. She was like, they need counselling, they wouldn't be good together. And I was like, Emma, don't ruin this for me. Like, stop.
Emma Watson said that?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
They're wrong. They're just wrong. That's it. They're wrong.
Right, moving on to Albus. How do we feel about him? I kind of felt like he was the least interesting. I don't know. I just didn't get. He wasn't very interesting to me as a character. Anyone?
I feel like, yeah, he wasn't very interesting, and he really just reminded me of Harry in his angsty days, but, like, that was it. He was just very angsty and nothing else.
Yeah.
I also kind of felt like he was angsty and nothing else, and then we never really got reasons. Like, sometimes he would, like, when they argue, he was like, I wish you weren't my dad. But I was just like, but why are you so angsty? Like, but what made you this way? You got sorted in Slytherin, you're not very good at magic, that's fine. Like, why are you like this?
The thing that I think it was weird for me is, obviously we read all the 7 beforehand, so we know what Harry's life was like, how he grew up, the people he grew up with, everything he had to deal with. Albus doesn't, so he would say things to Harry, and I was like, Harry didn't choose this. He didn't want to fight. He didn't want to be in this war. Like, he blames himself for all of these horrible things that happened, and you're not making it, like, any easier for him. He doesn't want to be Harry Potter. He wants to just be normal, you know. And I felt like Albus didn't really understand he didn't really understand Harry very well in that sense. I think he sort of, some part of him thought Harry wanted to be like Harry Potter, this great one, but then at the same time, I don't think Harry understood Albus. But that was what sort of frustrated me with him, is that I was just thinking, think about why your dad would be in this situation, think about everything surrounding him and his life, and then reassess why you're angry at him, because he hasn't really, apart from the horrible, you know, he did say some things that weren't great. Before that, like, he hadn't really, you know, done anything, and it was just, I think it was quite a lot of miscommunication with him, and I think that was why he was quite angsty quite a lot of the time.
I kind of feel like Albus, sorry.
There you go.
I was saying, I feel like he, outside of his angst, like Riley was saying, he didn't have a personality. Like, Scorpius, which we'll talk about, had a very distinct personality, and Albus just was like a piece of bread. Like, I was like, I don't know outside of your angst, like, what you have going for you.
On that topic, like, you know how he was sorted into Slytherin, and that's, like, quite a big deal because you know, it's always the fact that we don't really have any proof that Slytherins can be good, but then Albus is this proof. He doesn't seem to have, like, Slytherins are usually quite vibrant, ambitious, you know, their good traits are, like, ambition and confidence. Like, Albus just, I don't know what house I would place him in myself, because he just seems to be kind of personality-less. It's quite hard to categorize him, even as a Slytherin, which I feel like they could have, I don't know. Yeah. How do we feel about his Slytherin house?
It was obvious. Like, I think it was obvious from the epilogue of Deathly Hallows that he was going to be in Slytherin. I sort of saw that coming. I think if there's ever a new one, I think that's going to be the situation. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't really know why. Like, yeah.
See, I was really excited that he was in Slytherin, and like when I first started reading it, I was excited because we never really got good Slytherin characters in the original series. So I was excited for them to like explore Slytherins and show how like cool they can be because I'm a Slytherin. But like I didn't get that, so I was disappointed.
I feel like I was more excited about Scorpius being a Slytherin than Albus, because like, I don't know. He was a bit of a letdown. Should we get on to Scorpius? Because I feel like he was the one redeeming factor of the play.
Yeah. I love him so much. He was just really good. He really was like my redeeming thing for it. Just his entire character. He was so funny and nerdy and cute, and just everything he said was just constantly making me laugh. His presence when I was reading it, I was just like, yes, yeah.
Yeah, he was definitely my favorite parts of the book. And like, even though I didn't like the rest of it, I'm glad I read it just so I could experience him, because he's so precious and wonderful, and I love him.
Even though which we'll talk about later, I don't like how they randomly put him with Rose at the end. I did like his interactions with Rose. It was very evident from the beginning that he had a crush on her. Again, I don't agree with some of the choices made surrounding that, but I thought his interactions with her were really cute. When he, like, at the end, when he was like, he asked her out or something, and she said no, and he's like, she looked at me with pity in her eyes, and pity, like, will build a romantic palace for us or something. Like, it was so, like, cheesy and witty, and I don't know, I thought it was kind of cool that Malfoy was able to have a son that was, like, way nicer than him, and I don't know. Yeah, I just feel like Scorpius carried the emotion and the personality of everything, because Albus didn't really have. Honestly, like, you know, like there was that scene when Scorpius and Albus were having a fight about like who was the worst friend, and Scorpius was like, "You're a bad friend," and I was like, "You're right. Albus is really not that nice of a friend to you at all." Yeah.
Do we want to like talk about some Scorpius highlights? Like we were talking, me and Ren before, talking about like his whole like Bathilda Bagshot like fanboy moment where he gets all excited about
and the every time he says that, like when there's something bad happening, and he's like, okay, 2 points, first point, and he just like goes into this essay of why they shouldn't be doing everything, and then the whole ways to distract Scorpius from emotional situations, take him to the library. I was like, same.
Yeah. Now let's get on to the whole Scorpibus. What's their ship name? They both sound ugly.
Yeah, I don't like it. The name, I like them. I love them. I really thought when I was reading it that it was going to be canon, because
same.
Seemed to point to that, and then I got to the end and I was just like, wait a minute, what? I don't know. I did not like that they were like, to me it seemed so much like queer baiting, and it really bothered me. I think that was one of my biggest problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I would agree. That's what I was saying, is like, I thought it was cute, the interactions, like when Scorpius liked Rose at the end, but I felt like those interactions should have been towards Albus and not towards Rose. Like it really felt, because it felt like it was going to go in that direction, especially like when Scorpius sees Albus, like, what was her face? Delphi, like, kisses him on the cheek and he's jealous. I was like, why would you write in that? Like, he literally wrote in the italicized, like, emotions part, like, he's jealous. I was like, why would you write that in if they're not going to end up together? And then they have that scene where they hug, and they're like, oh, we hug? And I'm like, oh, like, this is going to be a thing. And I also just read Carry On, so I'm, like, very, like, now they're going to kiss. And then they didn't, and I was like, I don't understand.
No, it was just like there were books that, like, when he thought with the Dementors and he was this happy thing, when is it Snape that says to him, like, think of Albus, you're going to do this for him, and just like it was just building up that the most important person in each of their lives was each other. And yes, like, boys and can have really, really strong friendships, but just the way that it was written, it just suggested that there was so much more than that, and that there was going to be so much more than that. And then it was really, really anticlimactic at those last couple of pages when he's like, I asked out Rose. It's like, why did you ask out Rose?
It's just like such a wasted opportunity, because Harry Potter is great, but is it completely straight? Like, I can't think of any queer relationship at all across the... Is there one? I can't think of one.
I mean, Dumbledore's gay, but you never see
Oh, yeah.
Yours doesn't count because she said it after the fact.
Yeah,
Like, back and be like, oh, by the way, that character was gay.
Like, it was just such a perfect opportunity. Honestly, I just don't understand why they didn't do it. So, and then the whole, like, Rose thing. I mean, talking about Rose, I really disliked her. She was so, like, the way she shuts out Albus from her life completely because he's in Slytherin and because he's friends with Scorpius. Like, no, that's a horrible thing to do. And then when she tries to redeem herself, then it turns out, I think it was Hermione told her to do it. Was that it? I can't remember. But, yeah.
I felt like it perpetuated, like, I would have thought that the trio, when they had kids, would teach their kids not to do those kinds of things, because obviously, like they talk about it even in the book. They talk about how, like, isolation and being lonely leads to, like, you going dark or, like, feeling like you don't have anyone. And so I just thought it was really weird that Hermione and Ron would not have instilled in Rose not to be like that. Like, and here, because even in the epilogue of the 7th book, Harry's like, there's nothing wrong with being a Slytherin. Like, look at Snape. And, like, so I just don't understand why then they would proceed to make her so immature that she would not talk to her cousin because he is in Slytherin. Like, it just didn't make any sense.
Yeah, it really didn't make sense to me. And she was so snobbish, and I was just like, Hermione's daughter would never act like this. She would not let that fly.
Yeah. Especially, like, I can't remember exactly, but the short snippet we do see of Rose in Deathly Hallows, like, her relationships just seem so nice with everyone, and I don't know, it just really ruined my view of her. Because, I mean, the daughter of Ron and Hermione, how can that go so wrong and become, I don't know. Yeah. And then, since we touched on Snape briefly, what is your verdict of him now? Some people say it's a redemption. Some people say, no, we never forgive Snape. Some people say he was already redeemed in Deathly Hallows. So what is your opinion?
So I always really liked Snape, but, like, I liked him for who he was. He was an asshole, and I was like, that's fine. But I didn't like him in this book because I felt like his, like, redemption arc or whatever was just very heavy-handed, and it was just like, here, he's good, he's fine, like him. And I wasn't into it.
I felt like the dialogue in this play in general was very heavy-handed. Like, they would just, like, be so forward. They would be like, now we're doing this, and this is why. And I feel like that you didn't have to say that out loud. But yeah, no, I felt like Snape's interaction and, like, how he would talk, it was just very formal and very, like, I'm doing this because I loved your mother or your dad's mother, and now I'm doing this and I'm redeeming myself. And then that scene, like, even with, like, Umbridge, when he's like, how long have you suspected? And she's like, all these years. And then, like, I don't know, it just felt really forced. I personally have never liked Snape, so to me, he can't be redeemed. Oh no, where did Ben go?
Stay behind. Oh, she's back.
Sorry. So for me, he can never be redeemed. But I mean, that's cool if people accept him for who he is. I just feel like someone who can be that mean to children is just not a good person and can't be redeemed. But that's just me.
Are we still talking about Snape? Because I just got connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. I don't get the whole, like, well, he was in love with Lily, so he's fine whole situation. I didn't ever think that, like, helped him. And then even in this, I was just like, this is just another way to try and sort of be like, he's good. But actually, he did quite a lot of bad things. And
Yeah.
the best person.
Yeah.
It's quite hard to forgive. Are there any other characters we want to talk about? I mean, there's Draco. We kind of touched on him a bit. I wish we had seen more of him, to be honest, because I feel like he has, he's probably developed the most out of the original characters from Harry Potter. Like, growing up, having a son, having a family. I just would have liked to see more of him as a character, because I do feel like he does mature a lot within the 19 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to see more of Draco, because, like, in the original series, I always found him very interesting, but I don't think we didn't see enough of him for me to, like, understand him or just anything. So, I mean, I wanted to see more of him, especially because, like you said, I feel like he developed the most out of everybody, but we didn't, unfortunately.
Well, that was sorry, no, carry on.
I was going to say, that's what I was thinking too, because Draco to me was always the most. He wasn't underdeveloped in the books at all. Like, he was very complex, but, like, we just didn't get to we didn't get to, like, see him enough, because we only saw him when he was, like, butting heads with Harry. And then I really, like, thought his arc in, like, the 7th book was really interesting, because he was being forced to be a Death Eater, and, like, he didn't really want to, but it was his parents and all this stuff. And so then, yeah, I wish we had seen more of him in the play, because it was just really interesting.
I'll be back in a sec. 1 sec. I just have to open the door.
Okay.
There was so many characters there that I wish we could have seen.
Yeah.
Is it like Teddy, more of James and Lily, and Hugo? Like, Hugo's mentioned once, and the other Weasleys, like, in the epilogue when he's like, yeah, Teddy comes around for dinner 3 times a week. It's like, well, where is he then? Like,
I didn't think about the fact that Teddy wasn't in it. That's so
he's not even mentioned.
Yeah, that didn't make sense to me that Teddy wasn't, like, in it at all, because, I mean, Harry's taking care of him, so, like,
yeah,
where is he? His name doesn't even get mentioned, does it? Because they talk about 3 kids being at home. They don't even talk about the 4.
Yeah, and he's supposed to have, like, be there all the time. He's, like, in Hogwarts. He's in his 7th year, so I imagine they'd take him, like, to
the training.
To the stuff. Yeah.
Weird. That's really weird.
No, it was...
Yeah. I feel like Ginny was fine. Like, she wasn't not Ginny, but, like, she was kind of boring. Like, they didn't really do a lot with her. Like, I feel like Ginny is, like, fiercer and, like, spicier than they had her in the... I don't know if you guys agree with that, but I just feel like she was kind of like, I'm Harry's supporting wife. And
I totally agree, because in the books, like, Ginny was my first, like, female, like, you are brilliant. Like, I loved her so much. She was, like, a really strong character. And then in the films, she was not quite that, and I felt like play Ginny was like film Ginny. She just didn't have the same depth that book Ginny originally had. The only time I ever really saw that is when Draco says, my son is missing, and she's like, so is mine, and she, like, properly, like, shouts at him. And that was the only time it sort of came across. Other than that, she did feel quite just, like, chilled out to the whole thing. She just sort of seemed quite, which was annoying, because I think in the book she's really, really, like, funny and strong and quite fierce, and it just didn't come across as much as I would have liked.
Yeah.
We were talking about Teddy.
About what, sorry?
Teddy. And how he wasn't in he's not in the play at all.
Oh, yeah. That was so sad. I would have liked to see him. Do we want to talk about now the whole thing about seeing the play versus reading it?
There are so many things that I'm like, how would they do that on stage? First of all, can I just say, this is not super on topic, the scene with the trolley cart lady on
the God, yes!
Was a scene out of Spider-Man. I thought she sounded like the Green Goblin because she was throwing hands, and her hands turned into spikes, and I was like, is this a Marvel comic? Like, are we in the Avengers? Like, I don't know what's happening. It was just such a weird scene.
I had to read that scene twice because I was like, did I actually just read that? Like, what is this?
I literally was like in my room yelling, and I was like, this is the most garbage thing I've ever read. And I went into my roommate's room and I read it to her, and she was like, and I was like, I'm not even making this up. She's like, I've been making pumpkin pasties for years, and no one knows there's bombs. Like, what?
The only like redeeming thing about that, like the only thing about that like was quite funny in a good way, was the idea that the Marauders and Fred and George would have tried to have escaped at some point. Like that was like, yeah, that's quite funny. I can imagine like Sirius and James thinking it's a good idea to try and climb on the roof or something. But
sorry.
Yeah. So that was sort of the only bit that I was like, yeah. Other than that, I was just reading it like, is this real?
Obviously not spoiling the play for us. I mean, I don't think I'll ever see it, but obviously Annie's is going to see it. Does it look ridiculous when they do these things? Or is it, like you were saying earlier, it's clever, but like how can they make that scene ridiculous?
The best things they did, like to clever, was like the time traveling, the Polyjuice, Dementors, and the one thing, like just sort of like little bits of magic, really, like not massive things, like tiny little things, just sort of simple spells, like cleaning things and stuff, which was really, really clever. That bit was really, like, it was well done, like for what they had to do, but it still looked ridiculous. Like, it's a rotating stage, so they have like the carriages, and then it like moves, and then they have, you know, so it makes it look like the train's going, which was really good, and it was really like well choreographed, and it was the same with the stairs when they were at Hogwarts. But yeah, no, that bit was just, they did a good job with what they were given, but it was ridiculous. Like the whole, like you couldn't tell how it happened, like how the hands were growing and stuff. It was really cool, but still, it's like, why is she like this?
It made me think she was a robot. I was like, wait, is she a robot? Is she not a real person? Like, what?
I thought too, actually.
Yeah, she's like bewitched robot to like forever guard the Hogwarts Express.
I feel like she was the most complex character because she was like, here I am, passing out these sweets. No one even asks me my name. I've been here 190 years. No one cares about me. And I was like, oh, okay.
Some backstory, some depth.
I don't know what happened to Annie's.
I don't know.
It's gone.
I'm really curious how.
I'm sure she.
Sorry, what?
I'm sure what you're saying with Riley.
I'm really curious how the transitions between scenes happened on stage, because in the script it wasn't good. Like they'd be in one place and then all of a sudden it's like years later, or they're in like another place, and it was hard to follow.
Mm-hmm.
The weirdest thing to follow was the speeding up of the years, like first year, second year, third. They had like a little thing to indicate it was the next year. So Albus would get sorted, and then something else would happen, and then Lily gets sorted, and then it like calms down, and it's like better. They had quite a lot of like moving things, like people dressed in black and like moving stuff around to make it happen, but it was quite fast paced. Like someone would be still talking, and then they'd be like going off to, you know, to do something else. It was quite fast, and you had to kind of like think, okay, they're here now. But I think that was because of the way it was written, which was.
I wonder if people who didn't read the script, if they were, like, because you obviously had read it before you went, so I wonder if people who hadn't read it were able to follow.
Yeah. Well, I went with my cousin and my auntie, and they hadn't read it, and on the like intervals and stuff I was saying, like, do you know what's going on, like, do you get it? And they seemed to sort of grasp it. So yeah, I think it was just really fast paced.
Mm-hmm. It honestly felt to me like, I don't know if you guys felt this, but when I was reading it, you know, you'd read the italicized parts where like he's describing, setting the scene or talking about the character, setting the mood. Obviously that's in a script, so that way actors and the set designers know what to do. But sometimes I was like, I think he wanted to write a book. Like, he wanted to write a narrative, because he would just like put in lines that I was like, that doesn't help anyone. Like, he would be like, there's fear in the air. I'd be like, I think you just actually just wanted to write a full-on chapter book, but you had to write a play.
Oh yeah, It didn't. No, I thought that as well. It felt like some parts of it were really story-like rather than just like sort of straight to the point, like stage direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think as a written play, it wasn't good. Just like the way it was set up and the structure and all the things. Like, I've read many plays, and this one just, obviously I don't know what it's like on stage, but just as a written play, it was not good.
Even grammatically, there was a lot of comma splices and like run-on sentences and like things. Like, he really liked that style. I don't know if you guys noticed, he likes that style of like people like stuttering their words and like lines in between each, like every single word. Like, he'd be like, I mean, and I was like, okay. I don't think every character would talk like that.
No, and things like that are more for how the actor wants to play rather than like it actually being in there, because if it's part of your dialogue, it's just going to seem quite forced. So it isn't going to work. But the cast, the people that they've chosen, got it.
Really good actor. That's
like hands down, like absolutely, they get it. I felt like I was watching like aged up, like Daniel Radcliffe, like the guy that plays Jamie Parker. I honestly, like, he must have watched like the films really intently to see the mannerisms that Daniel Radcliffe has, because he really had like done that. And I was watching an interview with him, and he said he wanted for it to feel like he would just straight back in rather than having to watch a new person.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I thought the acting was really good, and I feel like they really understand their character. Anthony Boyle gets Scorpius like more than anyone could ever want their like a favorite character to be understood, and it's like really good to see.
Also, just so you guys know, Anais just sent a message saying that she'll be back as soon as possible, but her Wi-Fi is acting out. So. The thing is, she has all the discussion questions, so
it does.
We're at the point where I'm just like, is there anything? Oh, you're back!
Yeah, that was perfect!
Have you already spoken about the stage directions?
Yes.
Because they were poor. Okay, so final thing, fan fiction versus canon.
I do not accept this as canon.
Hardcore fanfiction. I literally said, I went in my roommate's room and I was telling her about how bad it was, and I said, I literally feel like someone broke into Jack Thorne's house and tied him up and said, I'm gonna write this. And then they wrote it, and then he said, I will kill you and your family if you don't publish this. And Jack Thorne said, fine, I'll publish it. I'll say I wrote it. It's like, it's fake. It's not real.
I'd like to think Scorpius is canon, and like Draco's redeeming himself and like being better is canon. And I really like that Hermione is Minister for Magic. Like, I can really see that being a thing, and I'd love to think that's a thing. And then there were other things, so I was like, why? No, I don't want to accept that this is real. Let's not do this.
What was I going to say? But yeah, because like Joe didn't even write it. It was Jack Thorne. Like, that's another big issue for me. Because what was her input? I'm not really sure here.
I think she wrote a rough outline. I think she wrote like, these are the characters, this is what will happen to them, this is what they would do, and then she approved it. But I think she then gave the notes that she'd written to Jack Thorne and was like, this is the general gist of things. Go nuts.
He did go nuts.
Good.
Actually, a long time ago, I read a Harry Potter fan fiction that is like creepily similar to this. It was like almost exactly the same. It had time travel. Voldemort and Bellatrix had a daughter who was trying to like screw things up. And I was just like, did JK Rowling read that or something? Like, what?
Honestly, that person should probably sue for plagiarism because they stole your fan fiction.
Did you see the author called Jack, were they?
Everyone in the chat is saying fan fiction.
It's so sad.
Yeah, apparently.
Alright, keep going.
Like, she approved it. Like, I don't know. But on the other hand, like, does it, like, theoretically, Joe did approve it? It's quite hard to, yeah.
I'm hoping Fantastic Beasts is nothing like this. Fantastic Beasts is just like so good, and we just can taste it, and it's so fine. But I think we don't have anything to go off of with Fantastic Beasts, so they really can do whatever they want, and we have no books to compare it to, and we don't know the American Wizarding World, so we can be like, okay.
Did you see the trailer where she calls them like nomads, and he's like, what? We call them muggles, and I was like, oh, I'm so excited to see like different world.
Yeah, I did see that trailer, but I didn't think she said. I thought she said no magics, and I was like, but she said no magic, like NOMAD.
I no mad. It was no something. I think it was like shortened magic or something.
Okay, because I was like, if she calls no magic, I'm like, that's not very creative.
Yeah, it's something else, and then he's like, what? And then she says no magic people, and then
okay.
Whatever it says. But yeah, no, that would be good. Like, but she wrote it, didn't she? She wrote
the script. She wrote
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually have to run off pretty soon. I think we're coming to the end of the hour anyway, but do we want to talk about, like, okay, first of all, does the audience have any questions or things they would like to say? I'm going to check on Twitter quickly, but...
Also, while we're doing that, I'm going to go on Rafflecopter and look at who won the giveaway.
Someone in the chat said it's no Madge, M-A-J.
Oh, okay, that's not terrible. I mean, it does stand for no magic, which is not creative. I'm like, okay. I mean, I guess it makes sense. Like, maybe, like, Americans are not creative. I don't know.
Like, I get why that's what the Americans call them, but I don't like it.
Like, I get it, but no. Just so we all know, Cara Stone won the giveaway. She's going to get a free month's box of my book box, which is really exciting. And I think I know who she is. I think she comments on the videos a lot, so that's really exciting. I always love when someone who comments regularly like wins a giveaway. So that's exciting. But I'll email this winner, and then we do have 2 runner ups. There's Madison, who's at Book of Morton. That's her Twitter, so I'll send her a message. And then we have Shannon Riley, who's at Shannon Said on Twitter. So that's exciting. We have our 3 winners, and I'll email those.
Someone brought up quite a good point in the comments. Do you think it was done for money?
Yes. Honestly, all the new stuff came out at once. Like, they updated, what's it called? Pottermore. They did the play, and they're doing Fantastic Beasts all at the same time. So I don't know what happened to the show, where she was just randomly like, it's time.
And they're publishing those, I think they're ebooks right now, but it's like all the stuff she had on Pottermore, she's publishing into books. And I just don't get it, like, because for years she keeps saying, like, no more Harry Potter stuff, I'm done. And then, like, she'll come out with something new. And then she's like, okay, that was it. And then she comes out with something new. I don't understand.
She's like so wealthy, so I don't understand at all.
I'd like to think that it's just that she wrote something else. She like dabbled back into it and loved it so much that now she wants to keep doing that. Like, I want to tell myself that it's that, just to give myself happiness and sanity, that like that's why she's doing it, that she loved being back in the world so much, rather than everyone like it being money, because I don't like the thought of that at all.
She did always say she wanted to, like, that Albus's story wasn't finished, so
yeah.
like...
I do remember that she circled him on the family tree and said he is who I'm most interested in an interview in like 2008 or something. So, yeah, hopefully.
But yeah, any final closing thoughts on the book? Verdicts?
Orbus for life.
Yeah, I just really love Scorpius Malfoy. That's about it, really.
I'll have to retitle this live show, the one in which 4 people just basically talk about everything wrong with Harry Potter Cursed Child. Minus Scorpius, because we love it.
Just call it just Scorbus for life. Just call it Scorbus for life. There you
go. One last question. I'm looking at the comments. Do you think, someone's asked, do you think they'll make a Cursed Child movie? What do you think of a Cursed Child movie?
I'd watch it. But I'd be like salty about it the whole time. You know?
Yeah.
They sold the rights though, haven't they? Like, Warner Brothers have the movie rights. That's true. I believe. I think that's the thing. Whether or not they're going to do anything with them. I mean, it sort of benefits them just to have them before someone else has them. Anyway, whether or not they'll do something with that. But I'm sure I read somewhere that they did buy them, but just weren't planning on doing anything with it right now.
Mhm.
I'd like them to film the show.
Yeah.
The more see it, because it's not fair that it's only in one place and the tickets for that one place are so limited right now. I wish more people could see it.
Yeah, I prefer that to a movie because I haven't watched the play. I'm curious, but I don't know if I'll ever get the chance.
Yeah, they should make it like, I don't know, like Hamilton is like traveling now. Hamilton's going to so many different cities and eventually going to go overseas and like whatever. So like I feel like plays can do that, so they should do that.
Yeah, no, they should do that. It would be good if they could, because more people do deserve to see it.
I have to dash off now to look after my brother, but do you guys want to carry on? I can tune out early.
We're good. I think I'm good. Are you guys good?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Does everyone want to say their name, outro themselves?
Well, this is my channel, so I don't have to say anything. If you guys just want to say one like last thing about who you are and whatever, and then we'll...
I'm Riley Marie. I talk about books like everyone else here.
I'm Ren, and my channel is Ren on the Road, and I also talk about the books and Scorpius Malfoy very often. So if you're up for that, then yeah, I love it.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll say my outro that I would say. You all are so beautiful. I hope you have a nice day.